Today we're going to be looking at the language Permiac, seeing some words in that language, looking at their English translations, and then using that knowledge to figure out how to translate more words from Permiac into English, as we can see in question D1, and then from Permiac to English in D2. Okay, so how we're going to approach this problem is by taking a look for something called minimal pairs, but in a different kind of way. So we're going to take a look at the data set and see if we can find two translations into English that share just one word. So, for example, if we take a look at 1 in towards the house, and we take a look at 12 in towards your hand, the only similarity is the word towards. Now, what this means is that in the Permiac word itself, there should be a shared segment of that word, a shared morpheme that has that meaning. So if we take a look at 1 and 12, we see this LAN in common between both of these. So what this tells me is that this is what towards is translated as in this language. So another important thing I see here is that it comes at the end of the word. Now, in my mind, what I'm thinking is that every word has a template. So there's a certain way that a word is constructed. Like in English, we can do root, and then we can do a prefix plus root. So act to react. So there's probably something going on here. So I think this prepositional meaning is coming at the end of the word, and maybe some other things come before there. But let's just verify this hypothesis by taking a look at some more pairs. So in 8 and 11, I see with. That's similar. Your legs and his foot are different words. So what is similar here? Well, if I look at the end of the word, I see this kut, meaning with. So that's similar. Therefore, this has to be our prepositional meaning. And we can verify this by doing a few more. So we can take a look. I see of in 2 and 6, and the other words are different. And if we take a look at the end of the word, we see lun, meaning of. Now, we could take a look at 7 and 9 and make guesses about what they're supposed to be. The problem with this, though, is we don't have any data to suggest that, we can find that. We can prove that at this point. There's not enough data for that. We don't have that pair that has just one word in common. So all we can do is guess at this point. So we could guess that it's la and that it's leash or something like that. We don't really know exactly where the boundaries are, but we can guess. I don't want to guess right now, so let's just not. Okay, so I think that the prepositional meaning is coming at the end. So let's see if we can go further. And what I see in 8 and 12 is that your is in common. So if I can find something in these two words that look the same, then we have a good guess at what your means. And I do see this it in both of these cases. That's what's in common. So I'm going to guess that that's where the pronoun is. In other words, the possessive determiner. So I think that possession is going to come right before the preposition in our word template, but let's just check some other things to make sure. So in the case of, your desks, so we have actually in 2, we have your as well, and we can see this it here. So you know what? It seems like we're right about that guess. Do we have any other ones that we can check very easily? Well, if we take a look at 7 and 10, we can reason something out here. And this might seem a little odd, but I think we're right about this. So if we take a look at my in my knife and my swans, what we see is this at the end. And in 7, we see the right before this thing called la. Now, the reason I think that this is what my means is because if we take a look at 7, we've guessed in our structure that the prepositional meaning comes after. So for the sake of would in fact be la at the end there. So we can actually get that information. We don't have any other ones with my, but based on the word template, I think we're in a good spot here. So let's keep looking around. Do we have any other ones? Oh, we have your singular dog. We missed that in 3, but that's it. So underline that. I see the, and I see his. We're going to tackle the later because it's a definite determiner, which means that the might not actually appear as part of a word. That might just be implied. So we do have his. I saw it. Yeah, with his foot and his wolves in 5 and 11. So what I see here is I see this is in common. So I believe that that is his. Okay. If we do their knife, there's something interesting about their knife, and that is that it looks a lot like his at the end, but there's this N that comes before it. So I would make a guess that the NIS is there. And the reason I say that is because his is singular and there is plural. So maybe going from singular to plural adds a letter. That could be it. And I don't see any her in this data set to suggest anything otherwise. But if we don't want to make that claim quite yet, then we can just ignore it for now and see where we get. All right, so I think we've done a good job there. Now, in the case of 7 with knife, it's just the only thing left. So we know that knife has to be pert. And we can use this information in 4 to see that pert would mean knife too. So actually, our claim about nis meaning there would be, in fact, correct, because we found that pert is similar in 7 and 4. That means knife. Now, if there were a knives, I would be very happy because then we could figure out what the plural means. But let's just find some more nouns here. So it looks like the noun is coming before. I don't know where plural is. Plural is either going to be before or after the noun, because I think this language makes distinctions for plurals, which you can see through 1 and 9. But we can tackle that a little bit later. So do we have any other nouns that's easy? From the houses. I don't really want to touch from yet, but I guess we can finally make that inference. We think it's going to be leash, and it would be odd in this language based on what we've seen so far to see ZL at the beginning of a syllable. So I would imagine that there's a syllable break there, and that's where the morpheme break is. Now, the reason I bring that up is because if we take a look at house in 9 and house in 1, we see circu. Circu. But there's this special thing here. There's this plural in houses in 9 that wasn't present elsewhere. So I think this is es. And I have reason to believe this is es. Because if we take a look at 8 with lakes, we see the es here. If we take a look at swans in 9, we see the es here. And if we take a look at wolves in 5, we do see the es there. So that's just an idea there. If we take a look at, let's see, 3 with dog, that's the only thing left, so that has to be pon. And then in desks in 2, we see desk, which would probably go all the way up to the N, and then the S for, let's use the right color there, the S for the plural with A's there. So it looks like we have most of this data set figured out at this point. If we take a look at our structure here, it's going to be noun, plural, possessive, and then the prepositional meaning. So if we want, we can just underline some of the rest of these. So we know Kolk has to be foot, swan has to be yush, lake has to be t, and then wolves would be kain, and forest would be ver. And we know from before that my is this schwa, this here. Okay, so we have everything taken apart. So let's take a look at the questions now that we understand the language. So let's translate the English for each of these Permiac words. So what I can do is I can just take a look at the word and I can break it up into its components. So I know that leash is going to be part of it. I know that niche is going to be part of it because I've seen it before. And then we have pizza. So that's going to be a noun. Actually, if we take a look at this, pizza in 2 includes the N. So this is actually more like this boundary. So pisan is desk. Is, if we take a look at the data above, is his. And then leash at the end would be from. So this is from his desk. What about a B? Vreesland. So we have the lun at the end, we have the a's for plural, and then we have ver, which is going to be our noun. So the lun at the end is meaning of. The Es is going to be the plural, and ver, if we take a look above, is forests. Now, what I see here is that there's no like his, her, my, or whatever. So it looks like in this language, if there's no other markings, it's just the. Okay, C, ponit. Now this one is interesting. And it's interesting because in 3, up above, we take a look at these. They're very similar. They just differ by one letter. And we didn't see anything in the data that tells us what the one letter is. But I'm going to make a little educated inference here. I pointed out this my to there thing, or his to there, in is to niece by adding an n to make it plural. And I believe that's exactly what's happening here. So we have your as the it, but then the plurality comes from that extra n. So this is your plural dog rather than just your singular dog. Okay, and let's do the last one, Jushla. We know that's where the cutoff's going to be. So Yush is going to be swan, and la, if we take a look above, is going to be for the sake of. So for the sake of, and then the swan. It's kind of a weird phrase. I don't know if I'd ever say that in real life. Okay, so let's now write the Permiac translations for each English phrase. So his hands. So basically, if I think about how I would do this piece by piece, I need hand, I need the plural, and then I need his in terms of how I translate this. So what is hand? If we go up and we take a look, we never actually underline hand, but hand is going to be ci, chi. So that's going to be chi to start. Hands is going to be the plural. We know this is ez's. And then what is his? Well, if we take a look at the data and we find his, that is going to be is. So E with a line through it. If you're wondering how that's pronounced, that's like the second vowel in roses. It's kind of a high mid vowel. Okay, what about my dogs? So what is dog? We start with the noun. So dog is pom. We need the plural, so we're going to do ez. I'm just wondering if... Oh yeah, it's plural. So this is my dogs. So we're going to double up on the N before we put the ez in there. Because if we take a look at the data here, whenever it's plural, we do see a doubling of the consonant. So even in kines, his wolves, and pisanes, we see the doubling up of the consonants before the ez. So we're going to stick that in there. And then we have my. So what is my? It is just What is it? Okay. Of your plural feet. Beautiful. Okay, so foot would be kolk. Kolk, but this is a plural. So of, wait, well, we have a plural here first. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do KEZ to get the plural. It's your feet. So your is going to be IT, the line through it, and then we have of. So of your feet, if we take a look at our translation, this is lun at the end. So lun. All right. For the sake of their house, this is the last one. What is house? That's going to be circu to start off, looking at the data. Then we have there. So there is going to be NIS. And then we have for the sake of. And if we take a look at for the sake of up top, this is just la at the end. So that's how we solved the problem. This was from the 2023 NACLO for the sake of their house, problem D. If you have any questions, I'm sure I can answer them below or somebody else will get to you.